Hello and welcome to part 3 of our 8-part series on the basic training for Premiere Elements. I'm Steve Grisetti, your host and co-founder of MoviePix.com, and thanks for staying with us so far. We're now about a third of the way through our journey, and it's time for us to start making our movie. In the first step, in our first tutorial, we created a Premiere Elements project. In the second one, we brought our media into the project, and now here we are at our opening screen here. Our media is in the project, and I have a blank timeline. Let me just say a few things about the workspace here before we get too deeply into it. One is that by default the program is in Sceneline mode. A lot of people like to work in Sceneline mode. It's very easy. You can just grab a clip like this and drag them in and piece together your movie very simply. You can add transitions between it. You can add some titles to it. You can even up here in the timeline under the monitor, you can even do some trimming and some slicing. It's too simplistic for me. It's too limiting. I care an awful lot about how the clips interact with each other. And if you care about that, then you want to be in timeline mode. You can do a heck of a lot more in timeline mode. And you can control, for instance, when a title comes in, when a title goes out, how fast the title rolls. All of those things are controllable in timeline, but they aren't in Sceneline. So I recommend the first thing you do is switch over to timeline mode. You notice your timeline, by the way, you can zoom in and out of your timeline, and there are a couple of ways to do that. You can zoom in and out by using this little slider or clicking on these buttons. You can also use your plus and minus keys. Those are next to the backspace key on your keyboard. Zoom in and out. If you want to see your whole project at once, you just press the backslash key. That's right above the enter key on your keyboard, and you'll see your whole project at once. And that doesn't matter however long your project is. When you click that button, the project automatically sizes to that size. So that's the first thing we want to know. Let's clear off the timeline. We'll get rid of all these things. Just delete like that and go back to our basics. Another thing I want to show you are the docking headers. Now, by default, this is how the program looks when you first open it up. If you go to Window and select Show Docking Headers, you get these little gray bars with the names of each panel at the top of each panel. Now, these are useful if you want to move your panels around. Say, pull them loose from the interface, and you can. Each of these panels can be disconnected, and you can drag them around your monitor. If you've got 2 monitors, you can spread them out over 2 monitors. But the other valuable thing about the docking headers is that there's a little pop-out menu here in the corner. In each one, and you can see that they have access to certain tools that otherwise are not in real obvious places. And so I encourage you first and foremost to open your docking headers or show your docking headers and to switch over to the timeline mode, and then we'll all be in sync and we can start making our movie. And so here we go. Let's make a movie. We'll open up dog walking here and we'll grab a dog walking clip, drag it to the timeline. We'll drag another clip down to the timeline. Now you notice that by default these clips move and snap to each other. This is called a ripple effect. And if I were to say delete one clip, you notice the other clip slides over and fills in the gap. This is called rippling, and in most cases you're going to want your timeline to ripple. It keeps things simple. You don't accidentally get little gaps in your timeline, but there are times when rippling can work against you, and I'll show you those in a minute. But for now, just know that rippling is the nature of the timeline. As you remove pieces, the other clips will fill the gap. They'll move left to fill in the gap. So we've got a couple of clips here. Now what can we do with them now that they're on the timeline? Let me show you a couple shortcut keys here before we get to that, all right? How do you get to the beginning of your timeline? Well, you can drag your CTI down there. That's that playhead. It's called a CTI. But the easiest way to do it is to just press your home key. That'll take you directly to the beginning of the timeline. No matter where you are in your project, home takes you home. You can also go to the beginning or end of a clip by using page up or page down. Page down takes you to the end of a clip. Page up takes you right to the beginning. So those are a couple shortcuts to remember. Okay, so we'll go to the beginning of the timeline here. And I noticed when I captured this video that I got some funny stuttering at the beginning. I think maybe the camcorder didn't turn on or didn't start rolling before the capture started. And you see that what I've got is just something kind of strange. Watch. There it is. So I've got a couple seconds here at the beginning of the clip before the clip actually starts. And as a matter of fact, why don't I move the CTI right to there, because that's really where I want the clip to start. So there are 2 things you can do in your timeline to change your clips or to remove portions of your clips. And one is trimming and the other is splitting. So to trim, I can just take the beginning of this clip and remove it. Now, As I hover my mouse over the beginning of the clip, you notice I get a bracket pointing to the right. If I hover it toward the end, I get a bracket pointing left. If I cross over here into the other clip, you see it's pointing right. This is telling me which clip is going to be trimmed by the move. Okay? So the move that I'm going to do here is that I'm going to click and drag here the end of the clip to the position of the CTI. And what I've just done is trimmed off the beginning of the clip. So now if I go home and play the clip, you can see the clip starts right up. There's not that stuttering at the beginning. There's not any unwanted finish. So I've trimmed off what I don't want. I can trim off from beginning or end. And of course, some important thing about working in nonlinear editing is knowing that it is a non-destructive editing. That means whatever I do on the timeline here, I can cut and trim and add effects. It's not going to affect the original clips at all. The effect is only going to be on the pieces that I've got in my project. And when I'm all done editing and I press export, the program is going to render and create those video files and output brand new video files. But the originals are always left alone, okay? They're only used, but they're not actually changed by the program. So in other words, even though I trimmed away the beginning of this clip, if I drag it back, I can get it all back. Everything I trimmed off can come back again. The other thing I can do is split the clip. So suppose I've got this clip here and I want to remove the part with the dog running toward the camera. I can set my CTI for the beginning of what I want to cut. And I go up here to the monitor and I click on Split Clip, the little scissors icon. Notice it slices right through the clip. I can position this now where I want the clip to resume. Then I click Split Clip again. And I've got another slice. I just select now this central part, press the delete key, and it's removed, and the ripple effect drags these two clips right up against each other again. So there you see you can remove your unwanted footage simply by trimming or splitting. Now there are other things you can do, especially on the timeline, that you can't do on the scene line, and one of them is that you can add clips to upper video tracks. Now you can see I've only got video 1 track here. So if I have a clip and I drag it up above that other clip and just hold it there and let it go, the program will automatically create another video track for me. And you notice that because I put that clip on top, it's like a stack. That clip shows rather than the clip beneath it. Well, what's the advantage of that? There are a lot of advantages to being able to use 2 video tracks. Want to use a picture-in-picture, you might want to use a Chroma key, and I'll show you how to do both those things. In version 8, there's a very easy way to add a picture-in-picture. If I hold down the Shift key, I can drag my clip from the media panel directly onto the monitor. When I let go of both these buttons, I get this option screen. Do I want to insert this clip right after the current clip, split it, and insert it where the CTI is positioned now, place it on top on the next video track, or make a picture-in-picture, or apply a video merge, or replace the clip? In this case, I want to create a picture-in-picture. So when I select that, my new clip comes in, but look, it's already sized to 1/2 the size, to 50% scale. I can drag on these corner handles, make it as big or as small as I want. If I hold down the Shift key, it'll constrain it. And I can position it any place on the monitor I want. So that's very nice. That's a nice, easy way to create a picture-in-picture. Again, that's only in Premiere Elements 8. It's not in the earlier versions of the program. But this is one way to use. You can of course do a picture-in-picture in earlier versions of the program. But this menu, this option menu that's built into the monitor, it's only been introduced in version 8. So that's one way to use a second video track. So again, if you had lots of video tracks filled with pictures and each one of them was sized, as I could size this picture and positioned around, I could create, by stacking several of these, I can create a grid of images. I could create what we call the Brady Bunch grid, where we've got like 9 different images in sort of a tic-tac-toe pattern. You can do that by stacking video track on top of video track on top of video track. That's one great advantage of using the timeline. Actually, another great advantage of using the timeline mode rather than Sceneline. See, it opens up a lot of opportunities for you. So let me just undo some things here. We'll get rid of our clip of the bear. One other feature that you can use the second video track for is Chroma key. Now, Chroma key goes in a lot of different forms here, and Chroma key essentially means taking the color, taking a particular color in a background and removing it or making it transparent so that what you're actually seeing is on the video track beneath it. Let me demonstrate that. Now, Premiere Elements has built into it something called Video Merge. Video Merge is very similar to Chroma Key, and Chroma Key effect is an effect also that's available, but the Video Merge effect does most of this automatically. I have a clip here, and just like any clip that's on the timeline or in your project media panel, if you double click it, you open up the clip monitor so you can take a good look at it. And you can see what we've got here is we've got a guy who was shot in front of a green screen. And this is a very common effect used in film and in television. Your weatherman uses it. He stands in front of a green screen and they put a map, they make a map appear behind him. We're going to take this guy and I shot him in front of a green screen, and because he was in front of a green screen, I was able to swap in a background and make it look like he was standing in the middle of a desert in a different movie that I worked on. So we're going to take his clip, and I'm going to hold down my Shift key again and drag it onto this monitor. When I let go, I'm going to select Place on Top and apply Video Merge. And you can see that the clip was placed on top. Here it is on video track 2. And look what's happened. The green screen background has been removed. And now we're seeing, in the place of that green screen, we're seeing the background of what was on video track 1. Does that make sense? So we can substitute in a fake background on video track 1, and if we've got a green screen picture on video track 2, we can wipe away the green screen using Chroma Key or Green Screen Key or Video Merge and just take out that background and make that area transparent, and when we do, we'll see the background clip that's on video track 1. A great special effect. It's all available to do in Premiere Elements, but those are the basic steps, my friends. It's as simple as just dragging your clips from the media panel onto your timeline, slicing away and trimming, using these clips or stacking them up and using them in ways that they can interact with each other. And that's it for part 3 of our series here. We've created a project, we brought our media into the project, and now we're placing the media on the timeline, and we're starting to build our movie. And our next step, we're going to take a look at some of the transitions you can add between your media clips on the timeline, so that makes for a much more interesting movie. And then in future tutorials, we're going to take a look at how to apply effects, how to adjust those effects, and then eventually how to export our movie. So thank you for joining me for part 3. This is Steve Grisetti again from MoviePix.com. Hope you're enjoying this series, and we'll see you again real soon.